In Rebelle 6, you can paint anywhere, unless there's a stencil. The stencil will limit the range of your application of your brushstroke. This is for version 6 as well as earlier versions as well. The stencils panel is here. Here's the stencils. You can find that in the window menu and stencils. There's a whole range of them. There's about 10 by default, but you can add your own. So let's just start right at the beginning, remove that, and also layer, clear layer. And I want to apply one that's got the alpha channel. So I'm just going to go here, and I can set it to any colour. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go with green. Apply, and you can use any brushstroke. Don't have to use the express one here I'm using. Now I'm just going for a very solid layer. Just completely trying to get most of that. It doesn't matter if it's green, blue, whatever. It just depends if the pixel is actually applied and it's applied as a solid design. Go here and you can say create stencil from layer alpha. So I click that and now you can see you've got a very solid. Now not as solid as say if you're using selections. Selections is probably a better one if you want to use it to create a very solid stencil that's very precise, very sharp. But if you want one that's a bit more varied, a bit more blurriness to it, it's going to be best to use brushes and also that alpha or image, which I find the image one even better for that. But here's the alpha one. So I've just applied it. And again, I'm just going to clear the layer, so just make it completely fresh. So you get the stencil added here when you've saved it, and also added here. And you can then resize this. So resize it, you can rotate it, you can also go to this menu and you can tile it. And you can see your design. Now if I apply again the brush stroke, and it could be anything, it could be watercolour, doesn't matter, I'm using the oil one, and you can see the area that it applies. It can't re-break into the mask. Some areas it does because they were slightly fainter. But the areas that were very solid, you will basically get that solid, all of the brush stroke applied. So again, if I go for orange, apply it again, you can see the result there. Or if I apply it here, again, sometimes it doesn't always do it. You can apply it and it just seems to completely ignore. You can see the result of that. And that's using the alpha. Now let's just click there and remove. So it's removed, you've got your design there. Now you can actually use some ones with variations. I'm just going to apply a brush stroke. There's no stencil now, but I'm just applying very subtle, very light, because what I want to do is create this sort of very sort of like brushed effect around the edge. And I could create it on this one as well. Let's just create that. And you can use any colour. You can use black, doesn't matter. You just go around there and you've got your design. But it's far more transparency. You can see a lot more transparency. Now if you go here and create stencil from layer alpha, so select that, you'll notice the channel, the alpha stencil, is got a bit more sort of cutting through. So again, I'm just going to clear it because layer makes it just more obvious. You can see it. And also, again, with this, you can resize it as well as tile it. So tile. And now if I apply, now you can see as I do it, some of the brush stroke is getting through, but some of it you can see here, because of the faintness around the edge that I created, is not actually being, doesn't let me apply the brush. So now you can apply it over and over again. But it's never going to be as solid colour all the way through. And if I go for, say, that, let's go for yellow, apply that again, apply there. You can see it's getting, some of it's getting through, but it's very hard to actually get all the way through. You can still see that softness around the edge. And again, if I go over here, it's exactly the same. You've got that solid colour that was the black or whatever. Doesn't matter, it could be green, blue, whatever. But the faintness around that edge and the faintness around that edge means that the stencil has got a bit more blurriness to it, a bit more sort of, I think it looks just greater, nicer than a solid stencil, which you can create using this one, which is, I think, if you want that, stencil from selection is probably going to be the easiest way to create that very sharp, sort of intense selection / stencil. Okay, so you can apply that, and now I can clear it. So I can just go there and remove, and you can see your design there. Again, you can see the faintness around that. But what you can also do is you can go to stencil and you can say here, create stencil from layer and image. So there, creates it, and now you can see the result. But you can see it's slightly different. The black, because I was using black, that stencil, that hasn't gone through to the stencil. That stencil, that bit area, the black area, totally thing. So if I remove that again, and now go here and paint it, say, yellow, and you can see, here's the stencil. If I paint it, that black area, and I'm just doing it very loosely, I'm just painting it orange. Doesn't matter if it's solid or not, absolutely not. But again, you can, if you want, obviously just create subtle around the edge again, if you want to create a bit more sort of blurriness to the stencil. And go around there and... Right, again, I can go here and create stencil from image. Now this time, you'll notice here in the stencil, it can actually, you can see the whole of the stencil. Even though it was black, that area you think, oh, you can see it, you can't. So black is no use when it comes to this option of the create layer from image. So now with that stencil, again, I can do exactly the same. I can resize it, and this time I'm just going to layer, clear layer, and now apply it. Again, black, let's just go for colour. And that area, now you can actually see now what happens is you can see the image, and it lets more of the colour going through. So the image one gives a lot more flexibility in some ways to the alpha one. If you want to create a sort of lot more painted sort of image, I find. So I'm just going to go with orange there, and again you can apply. And of course you can, let's invert it. So invert, and there's the area, obviously the stencil, you can apply there. And now if I move it, you can see you can create a variety of different designs using that type of stencil from the stencil that was from the alpha. And of course you can continue to add these. You can use this as a source for a new design. Again, the black is not very much use when it comes to the image. So again, if you want to apply it, simply apply like that. And once you've done that, you again go down here and create from image. And you can see it. Now, unfortunately, it creates this frame, which is a slightly frustrating feature. So if you actually go, let's just go out. Let's go to the edge. Let's go out to the edge there. Let's go out to the edge there. And I'm going out to the edge there. And now, again, layer from image. It still creates it. It's one of those weird features that makes no sense to me. I must admit, I've used stencils for quite a while. Still baffles me why it always adds this weird frame around it. Totally unnecessary bit of frame. But it does. And again, you can do tile, resize, but it does mean you always get this weird edge around everything. Please put in the comments if you understand why that always appears, because it is a frustrating feature. But you can see then, you can create some very unusual, but it does have a tendency, that image option, always to have this weird line. So you might prefer just to go to this option instead from the alpha. But it depends what you want to achieve with your stencil. So again, let's remove that, and you've got your design there. Again, you can go here, click there, create from alpha, and you've got your design there. Now again, you'll notice this time, since it's mainly all solid colour, I've really made an effort to make it fairly solid. There's not much cutting through. You can see the stencil, unfortunately, actually is not very useful. So you can actually go for an approach of applying lots and lots of colour. You can go full on and close it. Let's just get, sorry, don't want to remove that. No, it's quite easy to click that. I want to remove that. So remove all the stencils, layer and clear, and now apply it. You can see the result of that, which may or may not be useful to you. So you might want to use the image option instead of the alpha option in that case. And again, you can see then it's just applied. Basically, you can see solid colour all the way through. There's a few areas of faintness, but most of it was a solid colour. So there's no sort of graduation depending on the colour. So image may be a much better choice in that case. There's also another option which suffers in the sense the same way. Of course, create stencil from image file. But I'm going to go through that in another video. If you've got any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you much.